Hello, and welcome back to Beyond the Home Study podcast. This is where we have real conversations for foster and adoptive parents. My name is Josh.
And I'm Greg.
I guess we're starting with that way.
Yeah, we are doing a special Father's Day episode where obviously this is not the girls and the husbands are stepping in for one-time episode.
That's right. That's right. And because dads are so stinking cool, I've got my cool dad sunglasses on right now. Is it working? Is it working for me, Greg, or no?
I think so.
You think so? I won't
It's
keep
been
them
a
on the
while.
whole time.
It's been a while.
You know what?
How long ago did when were we in community group together? I mean, it's
Oh
been
man, that was before probably 2019. Probably before that, actually.
okay.
2017?
Yeah, so it's probably been a good 7 years since we've hung out because I moved away and then moved back, but then you moved away after
Yeah.
we moved back. So
Yeah,
it's
it's
good to
been a
talk
long
to you again.
time. Yeah, it's been a long time. It's good to see you, Greg. Um, all right, this is definitely, Father's Day episode. And it's, a little bit of a catch up for us, which is pretty cool.
Right.
So, my first question, who's your money on? Spurs or Knicks?
I couldn't tell you. I didn't even know it was the NBA Finals, if I'm being honest.
That's all right. That's all right. I'm not a big basketball fan either.
But from what I know, I would go Spurs.
Okay.
I mean, I just hear everything about Victor Wembanyama, and that's what I would
Yeah.
have.
Yeah, he's probably about twice my height, so he's got to be good at basketball. Yeah. Well, yeah, this is cool. All right. So do we want to just try to our wives? I'm married to Abby, and Greg is obviously married to Laura. Um, they have provided for us these wonderful prompts because they're awesome, and they know we would need something like this. But Greg, what do you think? Should we just start off with a couple of these here?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So, what was your first reaction when Laura said she wanted to start a podcast?
My first reaction was another hobby. Uh, my wife loves to have many hobbies. She climbs, she does everything under the sun, so it was not a surprise at all. I will say it was a surprise when she said Abby because, uh, going back to, you know, back in the 2010s when we were hanging out, we were in your community group, but it was me that brought her into, your guys' lives, and
Yeah,
I don't know, she was just kind of a secondary to that because I had a relationship with you and Abby, obviously,
right.
prior to that. So it was kind of yeah, I guess that makes sense, but it wasn't like Abby and Laura were like best friends back
Right.
when we both lived in the same city. So that was a bit of surprise, but honestly, their personalities mesh very well. So yeah, was not a surprise, another hobby, and I thought it would work well. What about you?
Yeah, no, that's great. I know it's kind of wild to think back to like, oh, yeah, Greg was, he was just in our small group and we got to have him at our house and he'd ask us lots of questions. Um and then all of a sudden it's like, boom, this guy is getting married. This is awesome. We got to know Laura. Um and yeah, I think their personalities mesh really well. So, but yeah, my first reaction I think was like, yeah, this is awesome. Go for it. Like, I think it's something that Abby's wanted to do for a long time and has talked about like someday, kind of like the whole when I grow up, this is what I'm gonna do. Um, so at one point, she wanted to do a podcast, and so this opportunity came up and talking about adoption and foster care and I just thinking like, yeah, this is right up your alley and the experiences that we've gone through. So very, very cool, very cool. So I mean,
Yeah,
it's been over a year now, which is
yeah,
that's
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 great.
great. Yeah, they've done great.
One thing I find interesting is like if you would have told me in 2017, 8 or 9 years ago, that our families would be having an adoption podcast together, I would have been like, one, neither of us thought about adoption at that time, and two, podcasts weren't a thing either. So it was just like 10 years ago, this would not have been a thing. It's kinda interesting the way it worked out and, interesting segue of,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts about how you guys got into adoption? Obviously, 10 years ago, that wasn't necessarily on your radar. How did that come about in your mind? And, how did you get to where you are in regard to that?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's great. Um, yeah, so back in those days when we first started getting to know you, we were going through infertility. And so that was that was I think that was just like a growing trial, present trial during those years of starting to know you. Um, and yeah, so eventually I think it got to a point for us where, kind of after doing all the different medical things that people do trying to have a baby and can't, going through all of that and seeing, like, based off what the doctors are telling us, there's no, like, real hard, fast, like, medical reason why we couldn't have children. And so to us, it was kind of like this. I think some of that being more of, okay, well, there's gotta be like a God reason for this. And um, so if there's no medical reason, then there's a different reason. And perhaps part of what we should pursue is adoption. Um, and it's not something we were unfamiliar with. Like Abby has a sister who's adopted, and so that's part of her family story as well, which is pretty cool. So it just seemed at some point it just became like, yeah, this is the next step. This is the next step for us in terms of wanting to have children. Um, let's pursue adoption. And so that's kind of where we started and heard about embryo adoption. Um, and after looking into that a bit more, that was the route we wanted to go. And yeah, so that is kind of all history from there. Yeah. Now, what about you guys? Because I mean, you guys did foster
Mhm.
to adopt. Um, yeah, remind me of your guys' story on that.
Yeah. So, um, it kinda always been a conversation from, even before we got married. So, I remember we had a quick engagement, right? And so one of the things that we did to make sure that marriage is something that we wanted to do with one another is, we did this, like, it was a 3-hour drive, and we did this, like, 65 question John Piper
The
questionnaire of,
same
like,
questions here, right?
yeah, yeah, right. It was like 65 things you need to talk about before marriage.
Hmm.
Simple things like, what do you want your family to look like? Where do you want to live? And then obviously more complex subjects. And, one of the things that we both had agreed on is we wanted to have children. And one thing that she had brought up at that time was, a heart for adoption. She had worked at St. Joe's out of college. She has a family history of adoption. Her sister was adopted. And so, early on in the relationship, it was something we had already, always considered. I was still in school at the time, so we delayed starting a family for a number of years. And it wasn't until I graduated college, we moved to Colorado, that we wanted to establish being a foster home. And, for
Hmm.
whatever reason, I can't remember, it was important to us that we wanted to do foster care first, before we started attempting to have a biological child. And I think one of the reasons for that is we wanted to, have any child that came in our home that, may end up in adoption, that they had a sense that they were wanted by us. It wasn't like a second choice, or, the only reason we did it was because of, we couldn't do
Yeah.
biological. And so that's why we wanted to do foster care first. Long story short, moved back to Louisville, and then got reestablished, and then, had a number of placements before adopting LJ, and the rest is history from there. So it's really always been something that we wanted to do, and, ended up following through with.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's beautiful. Beautiful. And so, you guys do foster and foster to adopt, and um, you're you're a father now, and not just, just not just in the foster system, but you are a father who's adopted a child. Um, so on that front, I've got two questions. First,
Mm.
what's the most like dad thing that you've done this week?
I mean, to me, that feels like just wrestling with my son, like, on the floor. Like, that's just what I picture when I picture a dad is, like,
Mm,
upstairs on the corduroy, rolling around, roughhousing, like, no rhyme or
yeah,
reason to it, just hanging out with your kid.
yeah,
Um, yeah.
yeah.
What about you?
That's great. Yeah, that's great. I think the most dad thing that I did this week, which I mean, I love the wrestling stage with kids, and it's so fun just rolling
Yeah.
around on the ground, and even our our twin girls, the other day, uh, Eliza was seeing me wrestle with Judah, and so she wanted to crawl over. She crawled over to try to tackle me. Just so cute. But I think the most dad thing I did this week was, I was holding one of our girls, and Abby had the other one, and she was changing the other girl's diaper, and was finishing up, and I was like, "Hey, do you want to switch? Like, I'll take her. You just changed her. I'll take her, so you could, um, have a break from her." And gave her the other daughter with a very poopy diaper so that she could change her diaper. I said, "This one's
There you
really
go.
stinky. Here you go." That might be one of the most dad things I did this week. This week. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. And then so yeah, there's that. And I think so my second question follow up to that is probably tied to your answer there, but like what's something that you just like love about fatherhood? Like favorite thing about fatherhood in this season of being a parent, because that changes as your kids age and as you age, like it looks different. But at this season of life in fatherhood, what's your favorite thing?
Um, I love the fact that I get to see our children just learn so much about everything. It could be as simple as like a new word that they
Mm,
learned. It could be a new color, a new sport, a new action. Uh, it just feels like there's this like hyper growth phase that's happening right
mm,
now where it's everything. It's learning advanced language skills. It's learning better hand-eye coordination skills. It's being able to play games and be almost a miniature adult. And it just feels like there's just so much um, that they can offer the world with all that they're learning today. So it's just really fun to like every day is a new adventure, and every day it's like they want to read books, and every day they ask me that they want me to teach them how to read. I have no idea how to do that. Um, so like they're pushing me to be a little bit better in that regard. So or I can just have Laura do it instead. She probably knows how to do it already. But yeah,
yeah, yeah, it's good. It is wild to think that like kids just pick up how to talk. They just, like, watch you and they listen to you, and, then all of a
yeah.
sudden, they just start formulating words and sentences, and it's like, man, if you drop me off into, like, Mexico, I don't know if I'd be able to do that now. But they just pick up languages like that, which is pretty sweet. Yeah, that's really fun. Uh, okay, wait, remind me the ages of your kids.
4 and 3, so they're
4
really
and 3.
close.
Really close, that's right, 4 and
Yeah.
3, okay. Yeah, and we're 4
So you
and
probably have a much different experience because you have a what 5 and
yeah,
not even
yeah.
1 year olds. So you're kind of
Yeah.
splitting the difference there.
Yeah, yeah,
How's
for
that?
sure. Yeah, Judah's almost he'll be 5 in October, so he's almost there. And, yeah, so
Hmm.
it's definitely different with like, it's really fun to do, like man, Judah's just exploring so much more, gaining so much more independence, and that's probably one of the sweet things about fatherhood with him is seeing just man, just so often I'm like, he's just a big boy now. Like, he's able to do so much more on his own and is so imaginative, and, he's very creative, like, he's very imaginative, very creative, and, I love that about him, and I tell him, like, "Buddy, you're just so creative, I love that about you." He'll make up like, if you tell him like, if you give him, like, 4 or 5 words, he'll then remake the sounds of all those words to still say the same sentence, but he kind of
Hmm.
like switches up the sounds in a very like thought out, methodical way, and almost like inventing his own secret language of
There's
sorts.
just gibberish.
I Unless you know, like, the cipher, and so, like, if you
Okay.
said, like, "The cat ate the dog food," or something like that, he would say
Hmm.
something like, um oh, how do you even do it? Like, "Bo dat day cat food." He would just, like, switch up the first letter to
Hmm.
different words in the sentence, and you'd be
Oh,
like,
that's
"Oh,
interesting.
I see how you did that." Like, and he's just I don't know, he's just very, very creative like that, or, um, like, this morning, he was chasing me singing a nursery rhyme about, like, 5 little speckled frogs or something. I'd never heard it before, but I guess it's popular, but he knew every word to it.
Hmm.
So that's really cool. I think with the girls, so they're yeah, not even 2 yet, but some fun things are, like, they just started high-fiving. Like, that's just really fun to have that connection with them. So you could tell the communication is there. Those communication skills are developing, and they're just super happy. And I think as a yeah, as a dad, I just love seeing my kids happy, you know? It's,
Yeah.
yeah, just seeing them enjoying life is a real joy. Yeah.
How prepared were you for twins? Was that completely different than one? Like, how was that transition?
Oh my gosh, yeah, yeah. So, um, if I have some cousins that are listening or that are twins, so if they're listening, please do not be offended at this. But I remember, just thinking to myself, like, "Man, I don't know if I'd be able to tell twins apart." Like, I just don't know if I'd be able to do it. Sometimes I get mixed up even with my cousins, and I've known them as an adult, you know? So there were definitely, like, in me, some internal hesitations on that front, probably superficial, but internal hesitations of like, will I be able to tell them apart if they're identical twins? I don't know. Um, and I still get it wrong sometimes, but but no, I could definitely they have their own unique personalities and demeanors and look to them. So like as a parent, I could tell pretty easily which one's which. So it's like kind of like a fear that isn't that's kinda, like, no longer, existent, I guess. But, like, providentially, I think God might have been preparing us for twins because so we had done embryo adoption
Hmm.
and, believe that's been talked about in previous episodes of Beyond the Home Study, but we, had adopted 4 embryos, and, Judah came from that. We had 2 embryos left. This was 2023. And so we said, yeah, let's go ahead and transfer them. Let's see if we could give another one of these embryos a shot at coming to full term. And um, both embryos were extremely high quality, according to the doctor. And she had told us, like, you have a very high likelihood of having twins. Like, I just want you to be prepared for that because of how these embryos are looking. Like, you have a really good chance you're going to have twins. So she was preparing us for that. And then, a short time after that, it turned out that neither embryo made it, and so it was from high chance of twins to, I'm sorry, this didn't work. Um,
Hmm.
and then we started the adoption process back in like January, I think, of 24, and we got a call in September, almost like one day off from being exactly to the day where we were, we were told that you're going to have twins. That we get a call from this adoption attorney who is like, "Hey, I have a birth mom. She's having twins, and she has kind of like picked you. Would you consider uh, adopting them?" And we were like, "Yeah, let's go for it." So I think God had like slowly prepared my heart for that. Um,
Hmm.
so it is definitely a lot of work though, and any parent of twins knows that it's that first year is definitely a lot of work, and when it's crazy, we like to say it's really crazy. But most of the time it's a joy. They have a lot of fun interacting with each other. It's kinda like they always have a buddy next to them. So that's kinda cool. Yeah, so it's, yeah, a little bit different than with Judah. So there's obviously those parenting, um, dynamics of, like, it was just him for 3.5 years, and now having to get used to having sisters. Um, all attention can't be on him, and so that's part of, like, where parenting and fatherhood comes in, right? Of, like, trying to still spend time with Judah um, and let him know that, like, the expectation has to be changed a little bit. Like, your sisters, they're your babies. They need a lot of attention and time, um, and so, like, just trying to help him see that he's still deeply loved. We still deeply delight in him, and we just can't give him as much time as we used to, It's just parenting reality. Um, so yeah, and I mean, for you guys with being 4 and 3 years old,
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some of that and some other unique complexities. So tell me, what's it like being a father of a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old?
Yeah, I think the dynamic is totally different than what you experience. I think my wife maybe has said this before, but it almost at times feels like they're functional twins because they're so close together.
Yeah.
Um, and so we didn't have that weird dynamic of, we had one child for a long time and then, a couple come along later and then they maybe feel the pull away. Like when Desmond was born, LJ, barely knew that, she was alive at that point, right? She's so young. So
Right.
to them there was no time where they weren't together. And also they are in my opinion infatuated with one another, so they always want to be with one another. um if one kid goes to the store, the other kid comes with them, so like
Mm,
there's never this polar split between them because they just want to be with each other all the time. Now that is unfortunate at times because sometimes you want to split up and go, one kid with one
yeah.
parent, and honestly it just doesn't work that way. So,
Mm,
one interesting dynamic is, you always get two. There's no, I thought two parents would mean you get one-on-one time, but really it's two or zero, which is
yeah.
great because then when you don't have zero, it's pretty relaxing. They
Yeah.
also tend to get in trouble with one another. So
Yeah. Yeah,
it's just
I mean,
different.
there's definitely the whole parenting, when it's quiet, you're like, "Oh, this is wonderful. Oh, wait, why is it quiet?" And
That's right.
yeah. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Um,
The other thing,
yeah.
on the topic of like foster care versus biological, I thought I had a preconceived notion going into it that um, the way that I would parent or even the way that I would feel about a child would be different between an adopted
Mm,
child or biological. And that's just like not the case, even in the slightest. Like the love I have for LJ, who's adopted, and Desmond, who's biological, is completely and utterly the same. Like there is no difference between it. I don't see a difference in
mm,
them. And that was one thing that I found surprising. I thought there would
yeah,
maybe be like a challenge of being able to attach or
mm,
um, care for her in the deepest level I could conceive of, and that really has just been seamless and flawless. I'm curious
mm.
on your side, like, do you feel like you had any troubles attaching with your children or anything that you had preconceived notions of that have just been squashed, now that you're in
Sure,
fatherhood?
sure. Yeah, yeah, I'd love to answer that. Before I do, was there a moment when you, like, realized that? Like, "Oh, man, my preconceived notion was wrong." Or was it, like, kind of immediate? Like, was it as soon as Desmond was born, you're like, "Oh, yeah, I've got the same love for them?" Or did that realization, did it come slowly over time?
Yeah, I would say slowly. Um, I felt like I attached to our children a little bit later.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, my wife stayed at home with LJ and, spent the majority of her first year of life with her. And so it wasn't until she was probably 12 months, 14 months that really felt
Yeah.
a connection with her. Similarly with my son, he was breastfed. And so every single feeding moment for the first 12 months was with his mother, and so again, in a similar fashion, the attachment didn't happen, you know, on a deep level
Yeah.
until probably that 12 to 14 months. So it was probably about that range in my son's life where I was like, there is no difference between
Hmm.
um, these two children. But, you know, it was a,
Yeah.
a longer attachment period and a longer period of understanding that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, thanks for sharing that, Greg. And some of that just seems like, oh yeah, that just seems to make sense. Just the natural biological elements involved there. It's kind of like biological reality impacts some of that emotional reality. Um, and yeah, so that's yeah, thanks for sharing. That's good. I I think for me, some of yeah, so like Judah, yeah, Judah was breastfed, and the girls were uh on bottles, and so with the girls, we kind of like tag teamed and split every night who would do the overnight feeds and stuff like that. So uh there's definitely a lot more teamwork or involvement for me, so to speak, on that. But I think one so I think so we both had, I guess this is something I guess I'd share on maybe for any other, you know, parent out there or someone who wants to become a parent, um, and is thinking about adoption and foster care. We going through a season of infertility, I think it definitely the pain of that season and the grief and the sadness of that season, it definitely hit Abby more than me. And um, not that I wasn't sad, I was sad, but it was just the depth of that I think um, was felt more by her. And now that we are parents through adoption, embryo adoption, and infant adoption, with the embryo adoption, Abby got to experience that biological reality of a child growing in her womb. And that's just pretty awesome, that she got to experience what that's like. And I don't think I realized at the time, I didn't even have this idea that it would kind of hit me as a sadness that, oh, I am a father, but I haven't fathered a child the way a child would normally be born, um, in terms of the just that biological reality. And so what I wasn't ready for is for that to be something to grieve. Like, oh, okay,
Mhm.
that's most likely that's probably not gonna happen. I love my kids, and I love being a dad. I love being their dad. And at the same time, it was like, oh, and that's still gonna be a reality that I'm not gonna have that sort of, experience. And it's something that, I still kind of like, "That'd be awesome if that happened." Probably won't. Reality says it probably won't at this stage of life, and, um, so just that was something I wasn't ready for with adoption and how that would affect us. Um, yeah, yeah, so just know, like, that might be where you find yourself. Like, it might be after the fact of adoption that you realize the sadness of what brought you to this place of adoption. Um, yeah, so I think that's probably something I just wanna share that with whoever might be listening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. One follow-up question on that though. Um, do you feel like you were able to uh, grieve publicly, or do you feel like you had to, in some ways, hide that grief? I feel like,
Mhm.
I think it's just society at large, there's a tendency to not allow sadness in men and in particular in fathers. Like they have to be the strong one in the relationship and the strong one for the family. And so do you feel like you had
Yeah.
to in some way like hide that grief from your family or those around you, or do you feel like you had people around you that allowed you to share that with them?
Yeah, yeah, no, great question, and I think there is that, right? Like, seeing a father as someone who's steady and steadfast, like a rock in the family, it does, I think at times could put that pressure on dads to, like, be kinda stoic, or or
Yeah.
not let grief or sadness. Happiness, that's great. You could be happy, but
Right.
sadness, like you can't show that,
Right.
Um, and so these are some things that I've been able to share with Abby. Probably a few closer friends. I'm not sure how public the grief would be in something like that, but I guess for me, I'm thankful that it wasn't something that I feel like ashamed of to say. Um, and it's just a reality, that's kind of just a reality. And so, yeah, I think that maybe some lessons that I've learned, lessons still learning, is yeah, you do have to let yourself like recognize the sadness and feel it and actually grieve it before the Lord. I mean, that's in terms of like I'm a pastor, so in terms of biblical categories, that's a lament, and lament is all throughout Scripture, and it's a way to express sadness and grief and process sadness and grief in the presence of God. And if we don't do that, we're cutting ourselves off from one just reality, and we have to live in reality. Um, but we're also kind of cutting ourselves off from being honest with all the other emotions we might feel in parenting, like joy, like the happiness of being a father, delighting in your kids. I think if you're working so hard to maybe not process the grief or sadness, uh, you're also going to kind of hinder yourself from being able to experience and express some of the other emotions, some of the joys and the highs, so to speak. So the positive emotions, I think, is how people would describe them. I am not a psychologist, not a guru on those sides of things, um, but just stuff I'm learning is like, yeah, it's right to grieve, and it's actually how we could be fully present, and experience the other positive things like happiness, joy. So yeah, yeah. So I think it's a lot of rambling, but it is that, like, I didn't feel ashamed to share that with people. At some point, like, as the kids get older, I'm sure that conversation will come up. Hasn't been something that I've talked to them about. I mean, 1, too young and probably not appropriate at this age, but at some point, I'm sure those conversations come up, so, uh, later down the road. But, yeah, having a
Sure.
community of other people you could talk with about those things now is probably healthy, super healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
what has one of the questions I have, and I can go first, is what has surprised you about adoption? So for me, I think the thing that surprised me the most is how common or how much adoption touches most everybody that I
Mm,
know. So when we made the decision to do foster care and adoption, right, those questions come up in relationships, friendships, coworkers, family, every which way. And it feels like every single time I would tell somebody about the fact that, hey, my daughter was adopted through foster care, they have some level of a story of somebody they personally know that has adopted, been adopted in their family, close
mm,
friend. And so that's one thing that I didn't quite realize before I got into it is like how common. Like everybody has a story and you find that out really quickly because everyone wants to talk about themselves in conversations and so you get their stories.
yeah,
But it's never a weird thing. Like people just get it. Like maybe the women in the conversation may have a different take or a
sure,
feel, but from a man's perspective, like I tell people about it and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's cool." I know that my sister or
right,
whatever.
right.
So for you though, what was the most surprising thing for you about adoption in general, or maybe specific to your family?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, good question. So most surprising, I'm gonna go with like good surprise, and then kind of like an inconvenient surprise, maybe if I could put it that way.
Okay,
Um,
inconvenient. Okay, all right.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So good surprise, and this is I'm answering this from in terms of yeah, being in the process of adoption and, like you said, you have those conversations with people. For us right now, it's, oh yeah, we're adopting Lucy and Eliza because we're waiting for a court date to
Right, right.
make everything final and,
Which, by
um,
the way, I didn't know until like a month or two ago that that still wasn't finalized, and I was like, "Are you serious?
still
That's
still
crazy."
and so that's the more, inconvenient piece
Right.
piece of the adoption process is, yeah, like, okay, we made, connection, contact with the birth mom through the attorney in September of 2023, and the girls were born in February of '24, and we're still awaiting a court date to finalize everything. So,
Yeah.
just the length of time that it takes was definitely uh, a a surprise that was inconvenient. And really at this point, it's the formality of just having the, like, paperwork's done, everything's done. There's nothing that, we can foresee anything that would change, the adoption. So it's just a matter of waiting for the courts to have a date, so they're backed up. So if you live in California and wanna become a judge, you should, because they need s 'cause they need some apparently. Um, yeah, so there it's just taking a lot longer than, what we thought it would to finalize. Um, yeah, so but yeah, you're right. Like anyone you talk to, it's just so surprising. We went to the bank to get some paperwork notarized one time for the adoption process, and for us adopting twins, that's the other connecting piece for us with others in our community. Is that even the banker was like, "Oh, hey, I'm a twin." I'm like, "Oh, no way, cool." So like it just kind of connects you to other people,
Yeah.
and I think that's sweet. That's really sweet when you have these other common ground points of relating to strangers even, like, "Oh, well, they were adopted too. Tell me your story," and bond, community of people who get it, who've gone through the process. Yeah.
Right. So then the big inconvenient thing is just the 2 years, and maybe I'm uh, stepping out of turn, but I also know that you guys told us about a adoption subsidy that you guys were, planning in your finances, which I'm sure that has brought an inconvenience that you're not able to take advantage of
It
such funds, and it's been 2 years, and you're
yeah,
probably at a point where that could have been very helpful.
yeah, it'll happen eventually, and really that's
Yeah.
like there's way more to that story, uh there's way more to that story on the whole financial side of all of that, but just evidence of God's faithfulness to us and to our kids, um, like, just good community that he surrounds you with. But yeah, there was just so many things that happened during those, few months leading up to being matched with the adoption that, uh, looking back now, it's like, okay, God is obviously for this thing of, like, caring for kids who need to be adopted, and, yeah, he's just been really faithful to us and to our children, and, it's just sweet that we get to play our part in that and see community coming around you and, just so many generous ways, from fundraising for the adoption and just people want to bless you, like it's really sweet. So just a
Hmm.
reminder that you're not alone with adopting. Um, yeah, man. Okay, I feel like we're getting close to our time. Do you have what other
41.
maybe do you want to pick like another question, one more question that you could ask me? I'll ask you one more question, and then can we do like a quick rapid fire Q&A?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
All right.
Yeah, we can do that.
I'm gonna ask you first. Okay. Um, And this is more of like legacy type things. What family tradition have you either started or do you want to start and see continue?
Uh, Laura's probably gonna laugh when she's editing this, but I personally like hate traditions. I don't hate them, but I don't like traditions just for the sake of
Yeah,
of traditions.
sure.
So So one tradition that we attempted, which then failed to continue, was when we were in Colorado, we went skiing on Christmas, which is
Okay.
a little bit countercultural, but we did that for 1 year, so I can't really call that much of a tradition because then we failed to continue those things.
Yeah.
I think well, I don't know if I call it a tradition, but I always link traditions with holidays, but I'm thinking more in terms of birthdays. So
Hmm.
I think one thing we've started to do is like you get to go each parent gets to go do something with the child, on or around their birthday.
That's
So
cool.
all holidays, involve all children, but I do think that it's good to take special time with each child individually, and
Hmm.
then on a top of that, each child individually with the different parents. And so that's something I think we want to continue to do is like there is a specific time where the father and son and the father and daughter can go do whatever activity the
Hmm.
child wants to do, and then similarly with the wife and children. So I think just building individual relationships with the individual children is very important. Like you can really easily just say, I'm the parent for these kids, or we're the parents for these kids. And there's no
Hmm.
one on one time where you get to have deep conversations. And, I say deep like a 3-year-old is really going to have much to
Yeah,
say to me other than he likes, you know,
for
Think
sure.
Delicious and Thomas the Train. But
Yeah.
regardless, that tradition starts now.
Yeah.
They get in the habit and they get the understanding of it, and honestly I think they enjoy it. So outside of even like birthdays, I think we like to call things dates. So there's father son date,
Hmm.
father daughter date, and then we call like family dates. So just naming the
Yeah.
styles of the activities I think have been helpful for our kids, and I hope to continue on into their young adulthood. I think it scares me a little bit that
Hmm.
maybe I can have deep relationships with my children when they're 3, 4, 5, up to maybe 10. The young teen and teen years,
Yeah.
I could see being a challenge. And
Sure.
so I think the forming those habits and those relationships early will help to propel and continue those through young adulthood.
Yeah.
And then in terms of family traditions that we've gotten rid of, we don't do large family gatherings
Hmm.
specifically on Christmas. So, like, growing up, we would do big family get-togethers, holidays, not necessarily always on the holiday, but one thing that we've tried to do is, like, keep the holidays just for our family. So, like, nobody's at our house on Christmas morning.
Yeah.
It's us, it's family time with our children. We can go do things with our family, with her family, elsewhere at else times. But we want to keep those, times with one another, only with one another.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
So,
good.
yeah.
I like that. Yeah, it's yeah, and that's kind of like charting your own family thing, right? Like that's yeah, it's really good. Cool.
And then my last question for you would be, is there ever a moment that you wish you didn't do adoption?
Oh, yeah, that's a challenging one. Is this the one you want to answer first? Do you want to answer first? Um, no, I mean, I think like there are moments where we can look back and be like, yeah, this is what we're called to. And yeah, I love that. Like there's even the moment when we got the call for the girls, like, hey, you've been matched with the birth mom who's gonna give birth to twins. Like, what do you want to do? Um, the year prior, I think we were on a date in December of 2023 where just like independently we had both like just prayer and thinking about the loss of the final embryos, um and just both felt really strongly that yeah we're called to adopt and that's what we want to do. um so there's just been moments throughout the journey where we get that call, um and yeah it's just like this, we don't know what life's going to be like with twins, but let's go, like let's do it because we just feel so united together that this is what we're supposed to do. um so I don't know if there's moments. There's probably moments like in that first, in the first year with the kids. Like Judah didn't sleep through the night until he was 14 or 15 months old. Um,
Yeah.
breastfeeding, so, Abby was up with him in the middle of the night, but he wouldn't fall asleep with Abby, he would only fall asleep with me holding him and rocking him, so, like, neither of us slept for for
Yeah.
14 months, 15 months, and then with the girls, they early days, it would take them like an hour to drink an ounce or 2 of milk, and, so in those moments of, like, lack of sleep and not in your right mind, yeah, I think I probably had a thought or 2 along the way of, "Oh, man, I really wish I had that back." But never I don't think ever
Yeah.
questioning or doubting, um, or regretting. No regrets on the decision, and would absolutely do it over again, just how we did. Um, yeah, if we could go back in time, right, and knowing what we know now, of some of the difficulties and hardships, I would be like, "Yeah, let's go. Let's do it. This is what we're called to. We're gonna do this. We're gonna make it, and it's gonna be okay." Um, yeah,
Hmm.
so thankful, very thankful.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel similarly in our situation. Like I read that question of, is there a time that I wish I didn't do it? And it's just like a resounding absolutely not. Like
Yeah,
this is the best decision we've ever made. Like
yeah,
you know, we wanted to be parents and we wanted to do these things and care for children who didn't have homes. So
yeah,
um, that would be my segue into like who should do foster care and why.
yeah,
I think that more people should consider what this looks like. I do feel like there's a tendency for uh, women to lead the conversation in
mm,
regards to how they want to pursue family and growing their family, and so I would encourage more men to consider what that may look like.
yeah,
Um, you know, many men just see
mm,
foster care or childbearing or raising a family as an inconvenience, and I would respond to that like what
mm,
else are you going to do
yeah,
with your life? Like do you really want to look back when you're 65 and have
yeah,
no legacy and no children and no family? For me that would be an absolutely not. And then like there's just this need that is just undeniable. There's
hmm,
500,000 kids or
right,
something crazy in foster care.
right,
Um, the numbers, when you take into consideration like embryo adoption and the other forms of
yeah,
adoption, I mean, the numbers are even crazier.
right,
And so there's no shortage of need. And it's really not as difficult or challenging as some people may want to perceive it to be. Like, sure, there's challenges. Like, don't get me wrong, but it isn't any more challenging than having a biological children. So, like,
yeah,
don't let the idea of this being more challenging, stop you from exploring what that could look like.
yeah,
And I think more men need to take a proactive approach in that, in my opinion.
yeah, I think that's good. Yeah, I think that's really good. Like, it's okay for men to lead the charge in caring for kids, and initiating. I mean, that's part of in my conception, as right or wrong as it may be, but, like, that's just a mark of masculinity, is taking initiative, and, part of it is caring for other people and protecting the vulnerable, and, like, that's a high calling to pursue that, so, yeah, I would just echo what you say there, Greg. Um, like, take courage. And obviously that doesn't mean it's for everyone. Like, we're not saying like every single person has to adopt, or you're not a man. Like
Right.
that's not it at all.
Right, right.
Uh,
Yeah, no, that's not at all.
but
No.
it's not opposed to manhood or masculinity or fatherhood. Like, you should be pursuing, like you said, this legacy. And I think that's one of the unique things, um, that Abby and I have kind of come to understand with, with adoption, like, even as we thought about this and before even Judah was born, there's the thought of, like, well, how are you gonna handle people looking at you funny? Like, "Oh, they don't look like you. How are you the parents?" Right? Like, that could come up in foster or any,
Yeah.
like, adoption situation. Like, they might not look like you at all. Um, but, like, that I think being, like, one of the special beauties of adoption is, like, for us, it was less about do they physically look like us and more about, like, do they look like what we look like at heart? Like, do they share the values that
Hmm.
we care about? Do they share the character and the demeanor of how they carry themselves? Like, we want them I'd much rather them look like me that way than have the same, um, physical makeup as me and yet just have, be totally, you know, shared like, have no shared values with us. Like, I feel like that's the legacy part of, like, we want you to be a certain kind of person. Like, we're gonna try to raise you to be a certain kind of person, person of good character and, person who's loving, like, that's what I hope my kids turn out to be. And hope it's hope what I keep growing into as well. Um,
Hmm.
and so with the adoption, it really takes out the concern of whether they look like me physically or not doesn't really matter. Um, but definitely what matters is their heart. And I want to care for them in that way. Um, no, I say all that and just coincidentally how it's worked out, like people who look at our kids are like, oh yeah, they look just like you guys. Like, oh, okay. Why not? Sure, sure. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Did you want to do the rapid fire now?
Yeah, let's do some rapid fire. Ready?
Okay. Who's
Favorite
going
that
first? Are you asking me questions
do
or
do we have the
vice
same? I don't even know
versa?
if do we have the do we have the same rapid fire questions? Prob
Probably not. I wouldn't
Okay.
assume so.
But you do have some there?
Yeah, I have four or
Okay.
five. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, uh, let's just go, like, back and forth, alright? So favorite dad snack?
Chips. Early bird or night owl?
Neither. Can I be a middle of the day person? Um, I wish I could
I
be
would have said maybe 10 years ago you were early bird, but maybe not with 5 hours of sleep
yeah,
and getting woken
yeah,
up by kids,
yeah, I
huh?
used to when I used to run a lot, I would wake up early to go running, and I don't run as much as I used to. Um, what's your coffee order?
Uh, Vanilla latte, oat milk.
Nice.
Uh, what, what is this? Which kid will you most likely lose an argument to?
I already lose him to Judas, so probably him. But we'll see when the girls start talking more, and I might be losing all of them. We'll see. Um, yeah, he's really good at reframing questions and sticking to his guns on things. So,
Hmm,
uh, minivan or SUV?
SUV, 1000%. We're not a minivan family. Laura would attest to this as well. Movie night or game night?
Oh, well, right now we're definitely movie night because that's like part of talking about tradition stuff. Family Friday, we do that that's like our tradition, and we do popcorn movie nights for Family Friday. So eventually we'll get to
Yeah.
games. Um, Disney or camping?
Camping? Maybe not with kids though. Our last camping trip attempt with children did ended with nobody sleeping.
Sounds about
Um,
right.
Also, I've never been to Disney, so
Oh,
we'll
okay.
have to check it out. Build it or hire it out.
Hire it out. If I have the money to hire it out, I'm hiring it out, man. uh,
That's it's funny you said that. I am the same exact way. My wife is like, "You don't like to do house projects," and I was like, "No, I don't. Who enjoys this?
yeah,
What?"
I tell Abby, like, I don't want us to buy a project. Like if you see something that you could get off of like Facebook Marketplace, but it needs a little bit of work to make it work the right way. I don't want to buy a project. Let's just
Yeah,
I'm the same way. Like if we could afford hiring it out to someone, let's hire it out. Uh
yeah.
Cartoon character you're most like.
The most like? I haven't the slightest clue. I have no idea.
Honestly, brother,
I can't even think of any cartoon characters.
I wouldn't even know which one to like compare you to. I have
I
no.
don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I think it means you're a very mature man, and we'll go with that.
Mm. Favorite ice cream flavor?
Oof. Okay. If I'm living anywhere in the world, mint chocolate chip, and it has to be green mint. But our time in Louisville, Grater's ice cream, that black raspberry chip, can't beat it.
You're one of those guys?
Love it.
Mm,
Love it.
ridiculous.
And if you know, you know. And if you haven't had Grater's black raspberry chip
We're
ice
like
cream,
groupies out here. It's crazy.
oh, it's so good.
No
Um,
way.
one word to describe fatherhood.
Bless. Now I'm out of questions on my end.
You're out. Okay. Well, I've got just a few more, so we could maybe both answer.
Okay.
So yeah, a word to describe fatherhood. Yeah, wonderful. We'll go with that. It's just wonderful. Um, most used dad phrase.
Go to your room? I don't know. Probably not that one. Uh,
Do you need loving correction?
I try to be good with dad jokes, but I would say some form of a dad joke, but I can't really have them land very often. I'm just not
Yeah,
very good.
yeah. I don't know about like a whole dad phrase. Yeah, that's a tough one. I like dad jokes. They're great. Uh, all right. Do you have your phone on you?
Yeah.
Last photo in your camera roll.
Last photo on my camera roll. It's literally of a screenshot of a customer specification for work.
Nice.
Laura's gonna love that one. And I would say the previous 50 pictures are from a site visit that I went to this week. So random
Nice.
tooling, like yeah.
That's great. Mine is of our mutual friend Andy's engagement magnet, and
Hmm.
it's great. So I have a
Did you
picture.
RSVP yet?
Not yet, and I probably need to. Uh, uh, song that always makes you think of your kids.
Song? Any kid song ever.
Any kid song ever. Super simple
Just
songs.
I mean, what well, I hear so many kid songs because they have the Yoda players
Oh yeah,
and they
yeah,
refuse to wear headphones and they just run around with them everywhere
yeah.
and they have like 15 cards that their grandmother has bought them and so every song Lion King is probably the one that comes to mind because
Is
they
that their
absolutely
jam?
adore it.
That's their jam right
Yeah,
now.
for
Ni-
sure.
Nice.
LJ knows every word. Yep.
Yeah, that's great. That's super fun. Yeah, there's so many kid songs that could do it. One that's not a kid song for me is Blue, the edition by the Ooey Ah Cat, which is just someone who has like dubbed over singing a song with a picture of a cat that goes ooh ah for all the lyrics. And Judah really likes that, and I like it too, so it makes me think of him. Um,
Weird children's YouTube. Yeah.
oh yeah, it's wonderful. All right, last one. This was uh, if your kids could describe you in 3 words, what would they be?
The first thing that comes to mind is Let's Play Dragons.
Nice.
That you probably don't get that reference. So
I don't.
it's the game where we wrestle, and
Okay.
so Desmond, every single night, it's like let's play dragon. Like when we go upstairs after dinner, after bedtime snack, it's like let's play
Nice.
dragon. So I think if they were to remember me in this season, it's that sort of interaction.
Nice. Let's play dragons. Yeah, that's good. That's really good. Um, ooh, yeah, 3 words is tough. And like one of them would have to be something like, ah, what? Because that's all the girls are saying right now, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So that's one of the that's one of the words right there.
Okay.
So let's say for Judah, I'm gonna go your train of thought here. Paper airplanes, because he just loves building them right now, and so he always wants to build those. Um, I would hope as they get older, uh, they would describe me as like present in their lives. Um, yeah, like a joy to be around, um, and maybe encouraging, kind of encouraging them on the right way. But I have a question to close the episode in my prompt, and I think we've already
Hmm.
done this. what's one encouragement you'd give to dads listening today? And like dads listening today, I think we've given you guys like several encouragements. So, take the initiative and don't don't fear fatherhood. Like it's definitely hard work. But it's not the hardest thing in the world, It's pursue it. Pursue it. Um Yeah, so I don't know, is there any other we've given a lot of encouragements and, yeah, if you're a dad who likes to be really efficient and you skip to the end for this advice, go back and listen to the whole episode, and you can find it
Yeah.
sprinkled throughout.
I would say, the joy outweighs everything else.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Greg. Yeah, the joy definitely does. It definitely outweighs it. Yeah. Yeah, just go for it. That's that's what I'd say, go for it. Be the best stinking dad you possibly can, and you will never measure up to the perfect dad, but man, you could be a good one, and, that's all your kids need, so, yeah. Dude, this was
Well,
this
I'll
was
close it
fun,
out
man.
with,
Yeah, close us out, brother.
um, the girls will be back next week, so stick around. And if anything we said today has made you laugh, cry, or feel seen, please share this episode with a friend. Bye.
Peace.